at Jacksonville Middle School. I'm going on my 4th year of teaching here. I teach 6th grade math as well as a couple inclusion classrooms for math. Jacksonville has always been home to me. I've always been proud to call it home. I was even more reluctant to, when I graduated college, to get a job here at home. It was definitely my first choice. Wasn't my first option when it came to picking jobs, but it was my first choice, and I was fortunate enough to be able to come back here and work here in the town I'm able to grow up in. I am happy to be able to run for this position. I want nothing more but the best for Jacksonville. I want to be able to represent the citizens of Jacksonville. I want to be able to be a decision maker for Jacksonville. And I want to be just a name that highly represents Jacksonville in a positive manner. Thank you.
Apology, I did that. Go ahead. Mark Evans.
Mark Evans, you now have 60 seconds for your opening statement.
Thank you, sir. Again, I'm representing a candidate for Ward 4. And first off, I want to thank you for affording me the opportunity to join the forum this evening. I was born here in 1969 off of Quince Hill Road. My father was actually a Baptist preacher. So at the age of 5, we moved down to Bradford, then to smack over up to Bradford, and then finally to Bentonville when I was at the age of 10. Graduated Bentonville in '88 and joined the Air Force. After 25 years of active duty, my last base was Little Rock Air Force Base, right back in Jacksonville where I was born. So I've always said things happen for a reason. I currently work for the Department of Defense, Office of the Inspector General. I earned my master's degree in operations management from U of A Fayetteville, my bachelor's in criminal justice from Park University of Missouri, a certificate in professional management from the Community College of the Air Force, and a certificate in human resource management from Martinsburg College in West Virginia. I really would love to bring my expertise, my professionalism, my leadership, and education to the City Council of Jacksonville. I truly believe that my skill set has a positive impact.
Next, we have Danielle Rose Raines. You have 60 seconds for your opening statement.
All right, well, thank you everyone joining us today. I am Rose Raines. I'm the council candidate for Ward 5, Position 2. Like Tanner, I was born and raised here. I graduated here in high school, and I went on and did my undergraduate studies, double majoring in business information systems and computer science. From there, I did 2 years of national service through AmeriCorps, and currently I am working sales with FedEx, working from home, and I'm looking forward to doing my graduate degree for economics. I'm looking forward to having the opportunity for running for this position and providing someone to listen to the concerns and questions of the community.
Thank you, Danielle. Next, we have Roger Sudemeyer. You have 60 seconds for your opening statement.
All right, thank you so much. Hopefully you can hear me over the volleyball match that I'm at. So I'm gonna apologize in advance. Again, my name is Roger Sundermeyer. I am looking for the position of Ward 5 Position 2. Like most people so far tonight we've heard from, born and raised here, lived in Jacksonville all my life. The only time I was gone from Jacksonville was when I went away to college, and I came back and raised my family here. I have 2 daughters. Emily is 20 and Allison is 15. Been married to my wife Randy for 22 years. I should have known that sooner. But just looking forward to the opportunity to represent, be a voice for Jacksonville, and not just, a certain ward, but represent Jacksonville as a whole. I look forward to that opportunity. I think one of my strengths is just listening. You've been married for 22 years. You learn to listen and empathize. And I'm not necessarily the loudest voice in the room, but I'm one of the strongest voices. And just a leader. Look forward to continuing the work that I've done in the community for so long. Just look forward to the opportunity to serve Jacksonville.
Thank you, Roger. Lastly, we have Brian Blevins. You have 60 seconds for your opening statement.
Thank you again for having this forum. I definitely like to thank the NAACP for this and everyone who took time to come listen to what all we have to say. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Brian Blevins, and I'm running for the City Council Ward 2, Position 1. I wasn't born here. I did not attend school here, so I definitely didn't graduate from here. I'm not married, and I don't have any kids going to school here. Those things, however, I don't believe are requirements nor qualifications for this extremely crucial position. I chose Jacksonville as my home over 20 years ago, and I'm passionately invested in the growth of our community and the progress of this city. When I accepted the challenge of running for this abandoned seat, there was no other reason than to continue my journey to improve this place that we call home. Citizens of Jacksonville, like myself, are concerned with the direction the city's been heading in. There are things that this community had been needing for years, and for those years, those needs have been trumped by inconsequential ones. The focus on the city has been seemingly stagnant, clouded, and dated, but what I bring is a focus that's vibrant, progressive, and crystal clear.
Thank you. We're going to go ahead and get into the first question. The first question will be answered by all 5 candidates in the following order. The first will be Mark, the second will be Danielle, the third will be Roger, the fourth will be Brian, and the last will be Tanner. Here's the question. Historically, the at-large system was instituted solely to disenfranchise voters. The Voting Rights Act of 1965 banned federal at-large voting permanently. And when legally challenged, courts across America continually rule against at-large voting as being discriminatory and unconstitutional. At-large voting inherently hinders minority groups, poor whites, and the less connected from electing local candidates of their choosing without any outside influence. Do you support at-large voting in Jacksonville? Mark, you have 90 seconds to answer that question.
Thank you. No, sir, I do not support at-large voting. It doesn't speak for a true representation of that particular ward or state or region or district. If we were a town of 500, sure, it's possible, but we're over 28,000 in Jacksonville. So I'd like to put that one into perspective and say, let's talk about stacking the deck and ulterior motives. With at-large voting, let's say I am Alderman John Doe in a hypothetical Ward 6 in Jacksonville, if one existed. And I've been on the council for 20 years and I have a pretty good following of voters. If I knew one person in the other 5 wards who is willing to run for the council, and I promote those names to my followers and they get elected, the result is we can pass any ordinance we want for whatever reason we want, for whatever price it may bring. We'd be in control, and it's corrupt, unethical, and another reason the federal government banned at-large voting. It invites hidden agendas, and that's what I believe. And no, I do not support it. Thank you.
Thank you. I need to see the list.
The next question. Hold on a second.
All right. Danielle, do you support at-large voting in Jacksonville?
No, I do not. It was, you know, like everybody said, you and Mark, it's been federally proven to be unconstitutional. I don't feel like that should be a thing that we're still struggling through today, especially when this act came out in 1965. It disproportionately sways the representation of this community and causes a lot of issues of corruption. And I think that the representation, especially of city council, but of all representations in the United States, should be of the people, by the people, and for the people. And until we get rid of this at-large situation, I am going to be here for those who are hindered, the minorities, and those who suffer the unfortunate byproducts of at-large systems currently.
Thank you. Roger, do you support at-large voting?
No, I don't. And it's one of the things I really want to kind of try to work on if I get elected. Is it's just a big disconnect for me from the standpoint that I don't necessarily have to be the chosen person in the ward that I am entrusted to represent. If I win certain pockets of the town, then that doesn't, I'm not representing the people of my ward. And that's the most important part of the equation to me, is to represent the people that I'm gonna be going to bat for and being an advocate for every day. I've heard people in the last few days, as we've discussed, this concept, that it does lead to some situations like in Pulaski County Special School District, how people would protect their own areas. And I guess I'm just a little naive to think that if it's good for me, it's good for Jacksonville. But I think by and large, if we're going to move forward, we need to either revamp the model that we currently have or blow it up totally. I just don't think that this works for our community right now. And I'd love to hear the thoughts from other people as we go forward trying to make this happen.
Thank you. Brian, do you support at-large voting?
I do not support at-large voting as it is right now. I think that there are some characteristics of it that work out, and maybe some of that could be pulled to amalgamate into a new form where everyone can win. It could be something simple as allowing one person from each ward and then having 3 separate at-large entities, so it's still an even number, so that tiebreaker is still there. But as it sits right now, no, it does, like Mark said, invite many opportunities for I guess non-appropriate actions to be taken, and again, deck stacking for sure, which we've seen, multiple times with multiple issues that we've had here in Jacksonville. So no, I do not agree with it as it sits. I think there are definitely ways that it can be changed, and I'm looking forward to getting in there and discussing those changes with my fellow council members.
Thank you. Tanner, do you support at-large voting?
No, I do not support at-large voting. I agree with what everyone else has said. What everyone else has said on their behalf. I find it a bit uncomfortable that, for instance, myself, I am running in the seat for Ward 1. I may lose Ward 1 and win all the other positions, but what that tells me is that the citizens and the residents of Ward 1 do not want me to represent them on the city council, or that I did not get enough votes to represent in that ward. I think one thing it does is it intimidates others to step up and run against the incumbent. I think it's a greater challenge. I think if you were to switch from at-large voting to based on ward voting, you allow your candidates to express and build more relationships and rapport with everyone in this, with those individuals within that ward, because you only would have to campaign within that ward. You don't have to spread out to the population of 28,000 people. You get to be the voice of those people in your ward. You get to represent those wards. And like Roger said, you get to go to battle and be a voice. And what we have to do is we have to be a listener first, and then we go and talk for our people. Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, we'll take the next question with
Okay.
Clarice.
Question 2 is for candidates Danielle and Roger, and you have 2 minutes. The question is, what are the biggest challenges facing the city of Jacksonville, and how do you propose to address them as a member of the Jacksonville City Council? Danielle, you have the first question.
Well, there's a lot of strengths that our community has. So I kind of would like to touch there first, and the fact that our community is so diverse, has so many people that have had a wide range of opportunities in life and have been brought here, during the present time. But one of our biggest challenges is that in our current representation, it's oftentimes when you will see that those individuals get passed aside. Their opinions, their concerns oftentimes are not shown the amount of empathy that we should be showing, especially during times of conflict. When I hope that with this position, I will be able to provide more opportunities to get out in the community and make people feel more comfortable with providing their concerns and opinions, because at this point we've been kind of stifled for a long time. And this community is full of strong people that were forged and tempered with Jacksonville grit. And I'd love to be able to show that and represent that part of my community.
Thank you, Danielle. Roger, you have the same question. I will read it again for you. What is the biggest challenge facing the city of Jacksonville, and how do you propose to address them as a member of the Jacksonville City Council?
Well, much like what Ms. Rose had said, we've got great people, but I would also argue that one of the biggest challenges we also have facing us is some of our people. There are people in our community that may not want to see us be as successful as we possibly can be. And I think one of the things that we have to do is weed those people out and figure out a way to take all of the people who do want the good things for our community, unify them. Our leadership, not just locally, but nationally, globally, everyone is so splintered and divided right now. And I think when you break people down to their core, there's a few core things that every family, regardless of race, ethnicity, what have you, they want the same core things. And I think if we all work together to address those core things, then we've accomplished something. And we can then work together to work on the things we may disagree on. But sometimes we simply go straight to the things we disagree on and go fight about that. And I think there's more power in finding the things we can find commonalities in and work towards achieving those goals. And then we can work on the stuff that we're struggling with individually. But I think we just got to unify. We've got to unify our people. We're all rowing in different boats, but we're going the same direction. Let's get in the same boat and row and get there 3 times as fast. I mean, I think we're tearing ourselves down in the process.
Thank you so much.
We're going to go to question 3.
Yes.
Question 3 is for Brian, Tanner, and Mark in that order. Question 3. Considering postgraduate opportunities in Jacksonville are limited, why would anyone consider living in Jacksonville? What ideas do you have to encourage people, especially recent high school graduates, to remain in Jacksonville and have meaningful community engagement?
Just to start, that's question 4. I know you said question 3. I just wanted to make sure that you had the right question.
Yes, that's the question that I'm asking.
Cool. Just making sure. To be honest with you, the more and more I look at the way that Jacksonville is right now, I really wouldn't advocate for people to move the way that it is right now. There are so many things that need to happen. Like we are a growing community. We do have a brand new school. We have a brand new school system. So that is right now the dream of what we're trying to sell. Right now, we're trying to sell a dream. And I believe that it is definitely going to take some more time to bring people into Jacksonville, but getting those things fine-tuned and get it to where we're selling a complete product and not a work in progress, I think is what's going to make people want to move here. Whereas right now, like I said, it's mostly a work in progress for people to come here.
Thank you. Same question for Tanner. Would you like me to read the question again, Tanner?
That'd be great. Thank you.
Okay, the question is, considering postgraduate opportunities in Jacksonville are limited, why would anyone consider living in Jacksonville? What ideas do you have to encourage people, especially recent high school graduates, to remain in Jacksonville and have meaningful community engagement?
One thing that sticks out to me in that question is the meaningful high school graduates and then staying in Jacksonville. My hope is that we have high school graduates that have graduated from the great school district that is being created right now, that is offering so many valuable and great programs for our scholars to be successful, and that they can take that knowledge and those credits and those courses and possibly extend out to Jacksonville, whether that's going to college, whether that's going to work on their trade. Right now, we have the college campus on base that doesn't offer a wide variety of programs. We don't have many trades that is offered. That's offered in Jacksonville. Sometimes we have to find those trades outside of town. I think the biggest thing is getting these people who do graduate, and once they find their career, is getting them back to Jacksonville. I think we have to bridge the gap and encourage them to come back to Jacksonville. Now, once they graduate and they can be successful in their career, then it's time to get married and have kids. And I would encourage anyone right now to come back to Jacksonville based on the state-of-the-art facilities that our school district is building, based on the programs that they are offering, based on the teachers that are teaching our scholars. I would even base it on the endless amount of neighborhoods that are here in Jacksonville, and just the people that are in Jacksonville. I've never met a bad person in Jacksonville. I have personally never met a bad person. I've met so many different people that has always decided that it's better to be a friend than a foe, and reach out and be a helping hand. And I think Jacksonville, the people, is a big part of what makes Jacksonville so special and how they can help others. Thank you.
And thank you. Mark, you have the same question. I'm going to go ahead and reread it. Considering postgraduate opportunities in Jacksonville are limited, why would anyone consider living in Jacksonville? What ideas do you have to encourage people, especially recent high school graduates, to remain in Jacksonville and have meaningful community engagement?
So I'm going to answer that in two parts. I'm going to get to that one, but I commend Tanner for being a part of the solution, because education is the key to pretty much everything. In 2016, I completed a research thesis called "Education's Effect on Crime," which also education can affect personal income, personal potential, and everything. And so I did a research. Actually, there wasn't statistical significance, but it was essential that over 50% of our nation's on average prison population had no high school education. Jacksonville's, the last statistical recording was around 83% graduation rate. We need to do our best to help our school district, even though they have their own government entity, to raise that, reduce the dropout rate, and give them the incentives such as after school tutoring and after school programs to keep them. Now, when it comes to this particular question, I would like to use the term internships. I know that's really on the collegiate level, but let's say we take our city entities such as the fire department, police department, even our city government, and businesses around Jacksonville that are willing to possibly bring in our juniors and seniors after school or on the weekends, and obviously paying would be great, but to teach those necessary skills and teach them what it means to be a part of the community, whether it's the first responders or the middle machine that makes the city run. I think internships would be a great and viable option to give them opportunities and potential, once they graduate high school.
Thank you.
Okay. Question 5 are for 2 candidates. You each have 2 minutes.
Question 4.
I'm sorry.
Even them.
Okay, I apologize. Question 4, number 4. Each candidate has 2 minutes to answer Roger, Brian, and Tanner. First question goes to Roger Sundermeyer, and your question is, the city of Jacksonville has many businesses closed. Let the city of Jacksonville has seen many businesses close or even bypass the city. What economic plan ideas would you like the Jacksonville City Council to enact to attract new businesses and or retain current businesses? And I can reread that if you need me to.
Okay, thank you. Wow, that's a pretty broad one for 2 minutes, right? So yeah, we have seen several businesses choose to go up the road or either direction. And I think a lot of that, Jacksonville gets a very unfair shake. And I'm not quite sure yet why that is. I mean, I think when you look at what the bean counters and the people in boardrooms look at, they look at what they feel best as far as who will support their business. And what I've seen repeatedly with the Chili's and the Lowe's and these instances when a business takes a chance on Jacksonville people show up huge. I mean, Jacksonville people will support. And I think that's a big misconception about the people of Jacksonville, is how resilient and how supportive they really are. A lot of times, unfortunately, Jacksonville doesn't make a lot of sense on paper right now. And so we've just got to find people who take a chance on us and will believe in our story and see the past success stories. But as far as what we can do, I think the number one thing we have to do is we need to work with our planning commission and find out what is one of the things, because I remember a couple of instances previously where it just seemed some of the details that a planning commission needed to get a business to relocate seemed a little granular. And I think sometimes we need to have a little grace and figure out ways to make it work for the business, whether or not it's maybe the most aesthetically pleasing or maybe the most beautiful facility, whatever. Let's worry about that part later. Let's get the business in here. Let's help that business be successful. And let's use that to springboard to other businesses who will see those success stories and say, Jacksonville does make sense for us.
Thank you, Roger. Next question, same question, Brian Levins. I'm going to read it. The city of Jacksonville has seen many businesses close or even bypass the city. What economic plans or ideas would you like the Jacksonville City Council to enact to attract new businesses and or retain current businesses?
Well, first and foremost, like one of the biggest problems that I think that Jacksonville has had has been the lack of an official economic developer. Like we have an economic developer that's been writing grants for the school district and writing grants to do all these other things instead of focusing on Jacksonville. Also, that mixed with, our Chamber of Commerce that has been, luckily they've been doing very well recently, but as of late, they have just had a track record of failures. So I think what we need to do is we need to, as a city council, we need to focus on bringing in an actual economic developer, someone who will focus on Jacksonville. Unfortunately, other than taxes, I don't really know what Jacksonville can do. And they already mix the taxes, with the property tax and the privilege tax of them coming in to give the tax breaks to bring in more businesses. But what we need to do is we need to start we need to start having somebody who will work for the businesses, because right now the city council that we have is not proactive at all. They are all reactive. So getting on the city council and being proactive to go out and bring these people in here and basically look for what they're, anticipate their needs before they get here, because we all know what's wrong with the city. We need to just anticipate it, fix what we have, and don't worry about what we don't have right now, but fix what we have to make what we have appealing, and then we can go for there. Downtown with no lights, it looks like a ghost town at night. I mean, we want a nightlife. That's half of the time we're not getting. So there are plenty of opportunities for business. We just need to be proactive and not reactive.
Thank you, Brian. Tanner Rupel, you have the same question. I'm going to read it for you. Let's see here. The city of Jacksonville has seen many businesses close or even bypass the city. What economic plans or ideas would you like the Jacksonville City Council to enact to attract new businesses and or retain current businesses?
I'm going to touch on the last thing that you spoke there. One is the current businesses, because right now we have to focus on what we have, and what we have are current businesses. and we have to do everything in our power to make sure that those current businesses stay open. If those businesses do not stay open, that means there's going to be vacant buildings that's sitting in Jacksonville, and everyone who's from Jacksonville knows we have enough vacant buildings. Secondly, now to attract the new businesses, I think the council or the leaders within the city council, and maybe you can make up a group who can be a helping hand to work with the chamber. Because I believe the chamber should help provide that type of sense on reaching out to these other business owners, reaching out to these investors. And so if the council can make up a group of folks to help with the chamber and be a helping hand for these businesses. Roger made a good point. He said that when a Jacksonville business does come, Jacksonville turns out, and we have a lot of local businesses that a lot of Jacksonville residents do support. And I think what we have to be, the city has to be recognize those businesses, the new ones and the current ones, and being able to help promote those as well. Social media is a great way to promote. It's free. Everyone's using social media these days for the most part. So I think if we can bridge the gap and create a plan and be a helping hand to the chamber, that would help us attract new businesses and focus on keeping the ones we have as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanner.
We're going to question 5. It is also a 2-minute question, and the 2 candidates that will be answering question 5 are Mark and Danielle in that order. The question is as follows. Is the planned sports complex a good investment, or will it cost the city money like the shooting complex? Do you support it?
Well, thank you. My knowledge of the sports complex is minimal, but what I do understand of it, it's going to be around 440 in Rixey, I believe, somewhere near what we call in this area the Trash Mountain. Anything in close proximity to that is, I don't necessarily if it's the right answer. I haven't seen the full plans, but last time I checked, if it was built next to that landfill, when I drive that area on 440, my windows must be up. Only thing worse is really a sewage plant. If visitors to that complex were expected to play, eat, and sleep next to that, Mother Nature better give Jacksonville a northerly wind for the rest of its existence. Again, I haven't seen the plans, but Mother Nature, she throws the trump card and anything if she has the opportunity. Again, I would have to see those plans, but if it is near that and we have a southerly wind, it's going to spell disaster. But that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Danielle Rose Rains. The question again is the planned sports complex a good investment, or will it cost the city money like the shooting complex? Do you support it?
Well, like Mark, I am not, I don't know a lot of information about the exact plans of it. But one thing that I do know, I served in my national service there in Vicksburg, Mississippi, which is a city that is close to the same size of Jacksonville, but has a lot more traffic, both national and international, and their sports complex has not come in the positive yet. I know that would be a good service to provide this community, be it that it is in an optimal place that you can actually work out in without gagging. But I think that we definitely need to be considering the long term as far as the amount of investment that we're going to be putting in versus the return on that investment. And I don't think that it is cost effective at all.
Thank you.
All right.
Moderators, are we allowed to speak to that question, or is it just to those 2 people?
Tanner, you'd like to speak to that question? Is that what you're telling me?
I would just like to give kind of some of the outsiders not necessarily answer the question, but just say to the ones watching, I am a part of the softball program that is here in Jacksonville, that's nationally, that's in Arkansas. There's a lot. We have a huge social media page. I've played many adult softball tournaments. I've helped run some youth tournaments, and the talk that I'm, regardless of the smell or where it's located, folks want to see this happen, regardless of where it's at. The softball community, there's people that travel many a mile, spend lots of dollars to travel to play a slow pitch game of softball. And I know that's not just what it's for. It's more, and it can be for the youth. It's going to be for the adults. But there is a lot of talk about this right now in the softball community. And if you drive past Dupree Park on one of the busy weekends, it is filled up with people from all across the state and all across from our neighboring states to come to Jacksonville to play a backyard game, basically. Thank you for all. Let me have the opportunity.
Thank you, Tanner. Okay, we are moving to question 6, and it's a little lighter than the rest. Each candidate has 60 seconds to answer, and every candidate forum usually has a gotcha question. So on a lighter note, in one word, please share a character trait that best describes you. Roger Sundermeyer, you are up.
Well, that is the word. So, I'm gonna go with resilient.
Can you say that again? You have background noise.
Resilient.
I'm sorry. I'm just gonna go with resilient.
Okay. Thank you, Roger. Brian Blevins. I can repeat the question, or?
No need. Like, my word is definitely determined.
Determined. Thank you. Tanner Rupel.
My word is positivity.
Positivity. Thank you. Mark Evans.
Thank you. My word would be diligent.
Diligent. And Danielle Rose Rains.
Everybody took mine. Well, my second one is thoughtful.
Thoughtful. Thank you, Danielle.
All right, now we're going to go to question number 7. Question number 7 will go to Brian, then Danielle, then Mark, and you will have 2 minutes to answer the question. The question is as follows. In the past several years, Jacksonville City Council and the police department has received a lot of bad press. How can you help change the image of Jacksonville?
Well, of all the people to get that question, so I definitely have been very involved with this. Like, we have a lot of city council members whose sole focus has been the police department. Like, while the city has been hemorrhaging businesses and money and families, they've been just focused, determined on just the police department. I think that actions that are already been in place by calling out, money that may have been misappropriated, all the negative stuff that has came out are just things that have been found out from the past. It's not things that are going right now. I think as of right now, we have a great police chief with Brett Hibbs, who's in there actually wanting to make a difference and focusing on the community and not focusing on, the people, who are making, who are sitting on the city council, who basically are trying to get more money. It needs to stop being about the money and start being about the people of Jacksonville. And I think that that's what is happening right now. But again, the negativity has just been because that their focus has not been on the people of Jacksonville. And I think that the negativity was justified in that instance, but I believe that it is being turned around right now.
Thank you. Same question for Danielle Rose Rains. The question is, in the past several years, Jacksonville City Council and the police department have received a lot of bad press. How can you help change the image of Jacksonville?
Well, really, it's just coming together and starting conversations. Like Brian said, Chief Hibbs is a great person, and I have had the pleasure to, have a couple of moments of just, working with him in logistics of community events. But I would love to continue that work and start the conversations, During my 2 years of national service, I was elected appointed to a position in the Community Volunteer Ambassadors, which is a program that is there to start the process of learning how to implement Executive Order 13583, which was an executive order created during the 44th administration, which is all about inclusion, not only within the department, but with the community that it serves as well. And so I'd love to see the conversation start and inclusion beginning.
Thank you. We have the same question for Mark. I'm going to read the question again. In the past several years, Jacksonville City Council and the police department have received a lot of bad press. How can you help change the image of Jacksonville?
Thank you. Well, certainly Jacksonville Police Department, I will agree with Brian and Rose that Chief Brett Hibbs, I think he's the right man for the job. That legacy of their last name has been through JPD for many, many years. And for him to be promoted over 3 captains as a lieutenant says a lot for the man's character and his ability and leadership. Negative press, obviously causes a lot of people to jump ship and transfer to other departments and even other non-police jobs. One challenge with our police department right now, I can agree with many, is we can only do so much as a city with the budget that we have. The revenue is not like it was back in the day. I believe it was Chief Franklin, the previous chief before Hibbs and McCullough that resigned, cut 10 positions. That puts a lot of strain on our department. But with whether it's longevity pay, certificate pay, the city, once we paid education. You take a class as a police officer, fire department, or city employee for that matter. If you get an A in that class, we give you 100% tuition reimbursement. We don't have that incentive where other departments do. That's why the pay is similar. But when you add those incentives or take away those incentives that other departments have, we lose them right out of training. The other difficult one, let me say a positive thing here, Chief Lafayette Fire Department. I think him and Brett Hibbs are connected at this point, but Chief Lafayette came over from Assistant Fire Chief on Little Rock Air Force Base, instituted a lot of the recognition and incentive programs, firefighter, paramedic of the month, of the quarter, of the year, has an annual banquet that's very formal. When you give positive reinforcement to your folks and take away the negative, we have honestly at this point have people lined up to join Jacksonville Fire Department. We have people in the pipeline ready to come through the JPD with all the background checks, the initial screening, the physical, everything else. If you have a pool of 100 by the end, we're looking at maybe 5, and those folks come out of.
Thank you.
Okay, question number 8 is for Roger Sundermeyer, Tanner Rupel, and Mark Evans. And you each have 2 minutes. Question is, what is your opinion of the defunding police movement? Do you believe additional funding of the police department would raise professionalism and ensure quality candidates can be hired? I can read that again if you need me to.
Yes, ma'am, please.
What is your opinion of the defunding police movement? do you believe additional funding of the police departments would raise professionalism and ensure quality candidates can be hired?
Well, what I believe is that I don't have a full understanding of the entire program and the entire movement. I don't understand it all. I'm still learning and I'm still asking questions about it. And I want to make sure that we get it right. If we do something locally, I want to make sure we do it right. Anything that happens nationally, we want to do it correctly and with the right heart. As far as investing more money into the department, I think I agree with the investing more money into different programs. There's different outreach programs. There's different ways to reach and get the same result without additional police on the street, for example. I've heard that there's opportunities to invest more in boys and girls clubs. There's more opportunities to invest in cultural and community outreach programs. And I think we start there. We start with a conversation with our community and say, what do we need the most of? Is it to really take a hard look at who we are as a police department and what's going on? What would the community like for us to do and like to see? And I think that's the crux of what we need to do more of, is engaging our community and listening to our community and doing something that fits for us. It may not fit the national model, but let's do what works for Jacksonville above and beyond everything. What works for us is what matters to us.
Thank you, Roger. Tanner Rupo, you have the next. Question is, what is your opinion on the defunding police movement? And do you believe additional funding of the police department would raise professionalism and ensure quality candidates can be hired?
Very similar to what Roger said. I don't have an answer to my opinion regarding the defund the police, but it's definitely something that I'm still researching, that I'm still looking at, especially when we're talking about it at a local level and at a national level. I would like to speak on it on the local level. I would like to see different funds go into the Jacksonville Police Department, but I want to make sure that those funds are going to be applicable to the city of Jacksonville. For instance, I was speaking to one of the SROs that are at our schools, and their budget is very slim to none, to my knowledge. That's to my knowledge. I would like to see that budget to be relooked at. I would like to see other budgets that's going to help promote possibly maybe more police officers come to Jacksonville, a reason for police officers to choose Jacksonville. But like in the question said, are we going to bring more professional ones? Are we going to be the ones that are the right men and or women for the job?
Talking about.
Thank you, Tanner. Mark Evans, you have the same question. What is your opinion of the defunding police movement? And do you believe additional funding of the police department would raise professionalism and ensure quality candidates can be hired?
Thank you. Additional funding for training, 100%. Training. You can't ever get enough training in any occupation, especially law enforcement, when people's lives are at stake. It's full defunding and opportunity or potential. Well, there's no country or island in the world that doesn't have some sense or form of law enforcement. So I used to be on the Civil Service Commission in the city of Jacksonville. I sat through HR's hiring process with all the initial candidates. The first time they ever met them, you have 100 sitting in a room watching the shoot, don't shoot, spray, don't spray, tase, don't spray scenarios. That's your first step of weeding out the 40% that we consider crazy. The remaining 6% move on to the second piece. But let's say, half them make it through to be an actual law enforcement officer. What I've always said, whether it's police, military, or whatever, if common sense was a requirement, we'd lose half of our manpower right out of the gate. They try to teach law enforcement, through the use of force model, the escalation of force from just voice, then hands, then taser, to unfortunately firearms, to even canine. And no situation is the same. No two officers are going to react the same. If a suspect turns around and puts his hand inside of the vehicle, you shoot one time. If you feel your life is threatened, but once the threat is eliminated, the use of force is done. You don't shoot them 7 times. That's obviously a current event situation we have now. But defunding for the purpose of training, there's potential there, but don't take away the officers' role, the officer numbers, because that just compounds the problem and adds, especially in Jacksonville, we're already short-manned as it is. But Money for training, 100%. You can never get enough training in any job, especially law enforcement.
Thank you. We're going to the next question. The next question will be asked to Danielle Rose Rains and Brian Blevins. This is a 2-minute answer. Danielle, all politics are local. Are you able to fairly separate the needs of municipal leadership from your personal political beliefs in order to serve all Jacksonville residents equitably? Please elaborate.
Can you ask that question one more time?
Yes, I can. All politics are local. Are you able to fairly separate the needs of municipal leadership from your personal political beliefs in order to serve all Jacksonville residents equitably? Please elaborate.
Well, that's actually what I'm looking for. I'm looking for somebody who's able to run for a position and be able to represent the people instead of using the position to personify and basically give their ideas and positions the platform. I personally don't feel like I'm going to be in it much, simply because I'm not the kind of person that that is very aggressive with my thoughts. I put them in the room and I look for the inputs and opinions of other people, and then I develop my perspective from that. And I feel like that is qualities that we should be looking for all of our candidates.
Thank you. Same question will go to Brian Blevins. I'll read the question again. All politics are local. Are you able to fairly separate the needs of municipal leadership from your personal political beliefs in order to serve all Jacksonville residents equitably? Please elaborate.
Well, I believe that that is the problem that we have right now. I think that a lot of the people have been on the city council so long, they forgot what their oath was. And their oath was to do what was best for the city, not what was best for them. Like, our city is not perfect by any means. We have a lot of things that need to happen so we can start rebuilding and start healing. But we've had tons of city council meetings that were over in 5 minutes. Like, our city has so many things wrong with it that there should never be a meeting where there's not some kind of ordinance or fix to improve the city. We have this huge opportunity, and it's being wasted on things like, parking your RV off the street or behind, or making fences like wood and not chain link. None of those things are really helping the community. So yeah, when I come in there, my sole focus is to help the community. I can't say my sole focus, because obviously there's going to be some municipal things that have to happen in there, but my proactive motivation is going to be for helping the community and help build the community, because without them, we don't even have a city. We have people that need things. Like, I drive by and I see hundreds of people standing outside the unemployment office, and then we have jobs that are needed for the city. Like, why are we not reaching out to the community on more than an outdated website to let people know that we have jobs available? There's so many things that we need to do, and again, we need to unlearn what has been going on and realize that isn't working, and it hasn't been working for a while, and bring in some new fresh ideas and some new fresh outside the box from the people that have actually been in that community, so we can help rebuild this, because they can't see the forest for the trees.
Thank you.
We are now on our last question, and then we'll take some questions, a few from the viewing audience and listening audience. This Last question is for Tanner Rupel, Mark Evans, and Roger Sundermeyer. You have 2 minutes to answer the question. And the question is, with each of your candidacies, there's the potential of 4 new additions to the Jacksonville City Council. What skills or strategies would you employ to build consensus in an already divided council?
Can you repeat that question one more time, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
I sure will. And no, it's Mark. We're here. Tanner's correct. We're just making sure of the order. Okay. With each of your candidacies, there's the potential of 4 new additions to the Jacksonville City Council. What skills or strategies would you employ to build consensus in an already divided council?
Already divided council. Okay, got it. So the first thing that I think would be beneficial with like you said, there's an opportunity now with Mike Dietz just now getting on the council, and then 4 new seats, possible to 4 new seats. To me, that speaks volumes that you have a chance right now to replace half of your council for the city of Jacksonville. I do, however, think, like you said, it almost feels like there's lines drawn in the sand. I think the first thing as adults, we have to hold each other professionally, and we have to hold each other accountable for all actions, not just the person sitting next to you, but the person sitting on the other side of the room for you. And whether that means attending some type of local workshops that will that's going to show how to handle each other in different situations, attending certain trainings that the public election offices may require us to attend. But at this point, if we continue drawing lines in the sand or picking to be with certain individuals, Jacksonville will not move forward. And it feels right now we are currently stuck. We are stuck in our paths for people to achieve maybe personal vendettas, if you will. And we have to, as a council, work together towards a common goal, which should be the best and for the well-being of the city of Jacksonville. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanner. All right, let me pull it up again here. With each of your candidacies, and this question is for Mark Evans. With each of your candidacies, there's the potential of 4 new additions to the Jacksonville City Council. What skills or strategies would you employ to build consensus in an already divided council?
Thank you. It's a good question. I don't need 2 minutes. I served in 9 foreign wars, and half of those I was in a leadership position, and saw some pretty nasty things, but nobody did anything without a consensus of the group. Sure, there's always the chief that's going to point in the right direction, but it's not questioning leadership or questioning each other. It's throwing out constructive questions, considerations for the well-being of the group, the mission, and the ultimate goal, and that's to survive in the U.S. best interest. You know, the city council is not a private club, right? It is a group of people working together for the best interests of the citizens of Jacksonville. We don't make decisions for the betterment of 1 or 2 people. We do it for the majority of the folks that it's supposed to benefit. Teamwork and cooperation, that's all we need. I've been part of many teams, cooperated in many projects, collaborated in many endeavors. And if I can make it work in many foreign countries, I can make it work in 28,000 population Jacksonville, Arkansas. I promise you that. But it's about teamwork, not one person. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you. And
No, yeah, one more.
You got one more?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Okay, Roger Sundermeyer, same question. With each of your candidates, there's the potential of 4 new additions to the Jacksonville City Council. What skills or strategies would you employ to build consensus in an already divided council?
Well, I think number one, and this goes for anyone, myself included, we need to make sure that we're doing this with the right heart and for the right reasons, and that we are all willing to check our egos at the door. This is about something much bigger than ourselves. This is about the city of Jacksonville. 30,000 people are counting on us to do the right thing by them every day. And quite honestly, I don't want to come into a scenario where we're almost living in a reality show. We just need to go to work. And I think one of the things that I've always been it's been a God-given talent of mine is I'm able to listen and process from various areas and various voices and kind of take each side of the polar spectrum and say, all right, here's the things that we're all agreeing on. Now let's work on this. Can we all agree on this? I think it's just building consensus. I think there's also, there's people who may just not really know what their opinion is. They just want to hear an opinion. And so I think we have to whittle this down to which people's voices make the most sense for what we're trying to do as a community, as a city, and work on those and let those voices be lifted up and be the ones that are being shouted loudest. And I think that's just me. I'm just a processor. I'm one that can take all the different voices and listen and build consensus among that in a strong, compelling way. And I look forward to the opportunity to do that. I think one of the other things that we haven't really touched on yet, and I don't know how much time I have left, but I'm looking at term limits. I look at term limits for city council. I think that's something that would incent other people to step up and become leaders. I don't think that, I personally, I don't plan on doing this long term. If I can't get it done in a certain number of terms, then I'm not the guy, and I should be willing to admit that and move on. And so I think that's something that we should have that discussion in the room is, are we willing to discuss term limits as well to help keep new, fresh ideas churning through our community?
Moderators, I would love to say something as well, if you don't mind, to this.
Please,
Yes,
go ahead.
Thank you, Roger. Go ahead, Brian.
I would like to state that, I've heard that it's like, hey, look, we need to quit living in the past. Well, unfortunately, the past is where these items have happened, and they've not ever been held accountable. Like, none of them have been held accountable. And we've seen a lot of things coming from our city council, from the people who have tried to have accountability put upon them, claim foul, claim victim, claim bully. Like, we don't have time for victims on our city council, coming from someone who was bullied in school. Like, people that are bullied get to the points where they kill themselves. Being told, hey, you didn't do that right, or hey, you messed up, isn't bullying. And again, like, there's no place for that on the city council. We have people that need food, people that need jobs, and empty places that need businesses, and that's what we should be focusing on.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Brian. We have a couple of minutes left, so we're going to do two things. We have a multitude of questions that have been sent to us privately. We're going to choose two viewers that will ask their questions. But before they do that, what I'd like to do is I'm going to call out each of the candidates, and I'm going to give you 1 minute to address something that you wanted to address or answer a question that you wanted to be asked of you tonight. Starting with you, Mark. 1 minute.
Awesome, thank you. For the past 5 years, I've volunteered, and this is obviously about my engagement with the youth and elderly in Jacksonville. I volunteered and helped promote the Boys and Girls Club of Jacksonville with various marketing films to highlight their obvious mission of enabling young people to fulfill their potential and productive, caring as responsible citizens. It introduces the children to diversity and culture, and it creates lifelong friendships. Let's look at Jacksonville's own NFL stars, Demetrius Harris and Clinton McDonald. They always come back, they always re-engage, and they always set the example, because that's what it's about. That's the mission, to show them what the club can do. My wife and our son's 28 years old now, lives in Alaska, but we were stationed in Georgia. He was raised in the Boys and Girls Club of Valdosta, Georgia. Still keeps in contact with those kids, and that's just shows how it has a lasting positive effect, on their lives. And even though she's out working for the state now, I salute LaConda Watson and the team we put together, putting together 20 marketing films for the Boys and Girls Club, and it's been very, very, very rewarding.
Thank you. Tanner, in 1 minute, please address a question that you were not asked that you would have liked to have been asked.
One thing I'd like to address, and it really ties back to what Mark said, is the relationships and rapport that I have built with not only the adult citizens, but the youth of our town. Being in public education, I love going to work every day and building a rapport with my scholars. And not only building a rapport with those scholars, but I'm able to build a rapport with their parents. I'm able to see them outside in the community. And one thing is I want to be able to take that professionalism to the council seat and be able to continue to build rapport with more individuals and more citizens of Jacksonville, being able to build relationships and rapport with more business owners and other city leaders. With the youth, I have attended numerous games at Excel Park, Dupree Park. I've said it, huff and puff, and watch them do gymnastics. I've been to the mighty Vikings field and watched some of my scholars play. And it's like when the random grandparent comes from out of town and they look over and they say, "Oh, there's grandma or grandpa," and they start smiling. Well, it's when they look over and see that teacher who's there, it's building that extra relationship, and that's what I plan to do.
Thank you, Tanner.
Thank you.
Ryan, in 1 minute, please address a question that you were not asked, but you wish you were.
Well, I guess I'd probably like to talk about the sports complex. Like, I do think that there is something that is needed for this city. But again, it seems every time we come up with an idea, we want to build something further and further away from downtown, further and further away from Main Street. Like with Unique Furniture allegedly moving out of the position, and knowing that the Unique Furniture Shopping Center right in the heart of downtown is about to be available, I would love to see us take that $10 million and purchase that and continue with the downtown plan that was already set up before Mayor Johnson came in office. Like, we need a actual community center. We need an actual deal to bring in people from outside to come see what Jacksonville has to offer. Like, we need to have something for the A&P Commission to really spend their money on that will actually bring people to stay in the hotels, will actually bring people to eat at our restaurants. And I feel that that whole Unique Furniture Shopping Center can be renovated to be one of the most pristine places for events.
Thank you, Brian.
Roger, in 1 minute, please answer a question you were not asked that you wish you were asked.
I'm probably just going to expound a little bit on a couple of statements that have been made previously. One, to Brian's point, and I don't disagree, but a lot of businesses look for that freeway visibility, and we've got to have that front door of freeway visibility that attracts people and makes them want to pull off on the exit ramp and go learn more about Jacksonville and spend time exploring. We've really got to, me personally, I kind of wish that we wouldn't have built City Hall right off the freeway. That's lost freeway visibility that could have been used somewhere else for something else. But that's just me. But to expand a little bit more on the term limit part, I feel like one of the things, because I ran in 2012 and I lost to an incumbent. And I was told during that time that the surest way to earn their vote was to be the incumbent. That's such a flawed methodology. I just don't understand how that even works, because just because you were the incumbent doesn't mean that you may have been the best person for that job. And so let's critique people individually on their merits each election cycle and make the most informed decision each election cycle. And to that point, I think we need to do a better job of mentoring the youth of our community and bring them.
Thank you. And lastly, Danielle.
But not least.
Last but not least. Danielle, please, 1 minute. Take 1 minute to answer a question that you wish you were asked, but you were not asked.
Well, I would definitely like to expand on the community question. I've been a big part, playing an active role in this community since I was in middle school. And one thing that I would love to do is to continue that, continue working in the community, talking directly to the community members, both youth and elderly constituents, and figure out what they need, And one of the biggest things that I needed as a young adult was a sense of direction and a place to go to find out who I am and what I believe in and what I stand for. And one of the biggest things that helped me with that was my AmeriCorps National Service. And that is a program that is not talked about enough in our local community and should be highly recommended to our community members who are looking to be young leaders of America.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Okay,
Danielle.
so we've chosen the first question from the viewing audience, and how we're going to do this is I put everybody's initials in a clock form, and I did spin the tail to come up with the two people that are going to answer the question. The first question, well, we have to have a 5-sided coin. All right, the first question will be answered by Roger, then by Danielle. And the question is from Jean A. Williams. Here's the question she asked, and you get 30 seconds. As far as getting businesses into Jacksonville, what is your thought about serving drinks, and what would you do to get it changed since it is now a dry town? Roger, 30 seconds.
Well, I think we're missing a big opportunity by not having that option for us. But it's something that needs to be studied a little bit more. It's not, I don't want liquor stores in every corner. I don't want that running rampant. I just want the restaurants that serve alcohol to have the opportunity to do so without restriction. Just because it's on the menu doesn't mean that I necessarily have to partake in that. But we need to have choices and options for our community to choose from.
Thank you. Danielle, you have 30 seconds to answer the following question. As far as getting businesses into Jacksonville, what are your thoughts about serving drinks, and what would you do to get it changed since it is now a dry town?
Well, I definitely feel like that is an opportunity that I would love to look more into and work with my council members, if I get elected, on working on getting those choices out there. One of the things is just, supply and demand, knowing how much opportunity is needed for a community, which goes into, doing that intensive study. But I think that with everything, with our community,
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
She should get a chance to finish your statement. Danielle,
No, it's okay.
You were right at the end of your statement. Could you go ahead and complete that?
With a large community like we have, that is definitely something that we should look into.
Thank you.
All right, the next question is from Amanda Erickson. And the two people that won the spin the tail was Brian, followed by Mark.
Okay.
30
Brian,
seconds for
30
each
seconds.
answer.
Given the level of corruption that exists on the council and the police department, what are you going to do to hold other council members and police officers accountable?
Well, if anyone does know me, they know that I have been extremely vocal in trying to hold people accountable. Again, this whole vote is for change and accountability. One of the things that I will say is that when I get to the point where I acknowledge this, and we need to actually try to hold these people accountable on a very public basis. Like, again, when somebody's on the city council, there's no way to get them off other than a vote. Censuring them seems to be the only way, but the people that are on the city council don't want to censor each other, especially during election time, because they don't want to have the votes go against them. I'll vote.
Thank you. Same question for Mark.
Given the level of corruption that exists on the council and police department, what are you going to do to hold other council members and police officers accountable?
How much time do I have?
30 seconds.
Not enough, but I'll try. So obviously there have been multiple votes of no confidence, votes for resignations, vote for unethical activity. It's really just a statement. It takes the people of Jacksonville to remove them. Obviously, you give me the opportunity, I'll voice it. And we as a collective group have to just know that, yeah, the corruption and unethical activity that happens, there's no room or place for it, even in the police department. But the police department is making correction with Chief Hibbs. Vote the new folks in, look at term limits, and there'll be a solution immediately.
All right, thank you. With this, we're going to go to our closing statements. Each candidate will have 90 seconds for your closing statement. And then followed by that, we'll wrap up and make it look good. And then we'll pass it over to President Barry Jefferson for him to give the closing remarks. We're going to start with Brian. You have 90 seconds for a closing statement. You're going to need to unmute yourself. Brian, you're muted.
All right, there. We got it now?
Your 90 seconds starts now.
Okay. Unfortunately for Jacksonville, we are hemorrhaging businesses, families, and money at a rampant rate. You know, change is necessary to revive the city. We are close to failing, but luckily we have not yet passed the point of no return. Vote for change and accountability by voting for me on November 3rd. This position means a lot to me. The only way that I can be your voice is for you to do your voice when you close that curtain behind you and vote. You know, I'll do my best to make the right decisions for the future of Jacksonville, for the future of the people who want me on the city council, and for the ones who don't want me on the city council. So I guess, like, in conclusion, if you don't know me, my name's Brian Blevins. I'm running for City Council Ward 2. I live and breathe Jacksonville, and if you don't think that I'll bring true change and accountability, just watch me.
Brian, please give your contact information, and then once you finish that, type it into the chat.
You can contact me via email at blevinsward2@gmail.com, which is my last name and the ward that I'm going to be representing. blevinsward2@gmail.com, and my phone number is out there as well. If you want to follow me, you can contact me on Facebook, Brian Blevins. I answer all my DMs, and I answer my phone calls. You know, I answer every phone call I get. So, and I'll put that in the chat as well. Thank you, everybody who showed up to hear us talk.
Thank you,
yeah, thank you.
Roger Sondermeyer, your closing remarks.
90 seconds.
Well, first of all, thank you to everyone for attending tonight, and thank you to the NAACP for hosting this. I think it's a great event, very informative. The biggest thing about me is I hope that anyone who knows me knows my heart, knows my body of work over the last decade and a half of being in Jacksonville, of working age, if you will. I love this town. I came back to this town and brought a wife from Mississippi here, and we raised our family here. And I can't see myself being anywhere else. And I want to create an environment and create a community that I know my kids want to come back to and live. And I think that's what we're missing right now is we haven't worked extremely hard to build a community that we can be proud of, but also our kids can be proud of and want to come back to. We're spending a lot of time pointing fingers and being divided, and you know, we just don't have a lot of time, and we've got to focus on the right things. And you know, I'm appreciative for the opportunity. Anyone on this panel tonight is going to make a great representative for the city of Jacksonville. It's not about me. It's not about me personally. It's about being a voice and an advocate for the community. And I look forward to the opportunity to listen and learn and be a voice for everyone in Jacksonville. And I appreciate the support on November 3rd. And I'm Roger Sondermeyer. I approve this message, and I'm Ward 5, Position 2. Thank y'all so much.
Roger, give your contact information, and after you give it, also put it in the chat.
Okay, I'll tell you what, it's probably going to be easier to put it in the chat because my last name is horribly long and bad to pronounce. So I'll type it in there, but it's going to be rsondermeyer@gmail.com. I've got a Facebook page, and I'll put that in there as well. But it's probably just a lot easier to do it that way. Thank you so much.
Good deal. Thank you.
Okay.
Next, Danielle, you have 90 seconds for closing remarks, and in your closing remarks with contact information verbalized and written in the chat.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for taking the time to learn more about the issues and the opportunities of the candidates that are running to represent us. As an AmeriCorps alum, I've pledged to get things done for America, to bring Americans together and to strengthen our communities. This pledge is a commitment that I vowed to take not only during my AmeriCorps service, but throughout my life. And I'm looking forward to the opportunity of coming back and helping support my community, recognizing where we are as a community, both professionally, financially, economically, and finding and working on solutions with the constraints that we have. I hope that you are not only learning, but executing the knowledge that you've gotten today, and that you just go vote. My name is Rose Rains. I'm running for City Council Ward 5 Position 2. You can find me on Facebook. I will put the link in there. You could also contact me via phone or email at droserains@gmail.com.
Thank you, Danielle Rose Rains. We appreciate that. Next, Mark Evans, your closing remarks. You have 90 seconds.
First off, again, like everyone else, thank you for Jacksonville NAACP for having me in this forum. It was very enlightening, very educational. In closing, with my leadership, managerial background, and education, my desire is to increase the City Council's efficiency in municipal development, increase the quality of life for Jacksonville citizens, and restore trust. I will bring a forward-thinking mindset to the table with the strategic decision-making capability. I've proven it in pretty many years in the past. I think our progression with new schools is spot on because quality education is the key to the future of our youth. I believe our vast Parks and Recreation Department is one of the best in the state. It adds quality of life to our families with children. Our community partnership at Little Rock Air Force Base is strong, has garnered many awards. It must remain strong because they are an economic engine. However, we need to improve our accessibility to emergency health care, pick up our pace in economic development, and find a solution to our vacant and outdated buildings. We also need to eliminate the lack of ethics and discord in our municipal government. I will bring proactive, responsive approach to the City Council of Jacksonville. And for constant improvement, we as a city must have constant change. Again, thank you for having me. You can reach me at mark.evans5@yahoo.com or Facebook page Mark Evans for Jacksonville City Council. Vote Mark Evans for Ward 4, and thank you for having me.
Thank you, Mark. Please provide your information in the chat. Last but not least, Mr. Tanner Ruppel, you have 90 seconds for your closing remarks.
Yes, I just want to say once again, thank you to the moderators for joining us tonight. Thank you to the NAACP for hosting this event. It's been very informative. I've gotten to know a lot about the other candidates. Thank you to the citizens of Jacksonville and those of you who joined. One big quote that I live on is, it says, success at anything will always come down to this: focus and effort, and we control both. I am 100% committed to the citizens of Jacksonville, and I stand for transparency. I'm focused to bring Jacksonville to a greater city than it already is. I want to be a helping hand in making those lasting decisions that just won't benefit a particular individual or individuals, but they'll benefit Jacksonville. I have a growth mindset, and I'm ready to use that to help move Jacksonville forward. I'm sorry. Like mentioned before, I've called Jacksonville home for 26 years, and I plan on calling it home for a much greater time than that. My family is here, and I look forward to raising my children here. I look forward to serving you all, the citizens. Please consider voting Tanner Ruppel for City Council, Ward 1, Position 2. You can reach me at any time. My email address is ruppelt@yahoo.com, RUPLET@yahoo.com. You can visit my Facebook page. You can contact me via text message, phone call, 501-454-4927. and I will get that in the chat. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Tanner. Thank you again to Brian Blevins, Roger Sundermeyer, Danielle Rose Rains, Mark Evans, and Tanner Rupel for tonight's forum and conversation with our community. We want to thank the community and thank the NAACP for this opportunity to host and be moderators for this very important election.
All politics are local, such as was said in one of the questions, and that is very important. What happens in City Hall affects you a lot more profoundly than what happens at the White House. I want to make sure that come Monday, when early voting starts, that people start making their choice on how they're going to vote. You can vote by absentee ballot. You can vote early, or you can vote on Election Day, which is November 3rd. But what you must do is you must vote, and you must vote in a way that voting is not an event. Voting is a process. It's the beginning of a process, because the real work starts on November the 4th. And I hope all of you candidates that do not get elected, that you are still a force in the community in Jacksonville and making the change that we all agreed upon that is necessary for the city of Jacksonville. With that, I'm going to turn it to the president, Barry Jefferson.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much. I really want to thank our Clarice. I want to thank Kwame for moderating and standing up. I really appreciate you so much. Want to thank all the candidates. I think that is very important. I am very excited all of you came to speak to the voters of Jacksonville. We'll be placing this on Facebook so people can see it that couldn't make it today. I hated that the other two candidates, the two incumbents, did not come. I really wanted them to be here so people could actually see you and hear you and see your vision. And that's what this is all about. The Jacksonville branch of the NAACP want to say thank you to everyone. We want you to continue to do the things that you need to do. We need you to go vote. We need you to go vote early. If you can't vote early, do an absentee ballot. I just want you to go vote because you have some great candidates that was here today that spoke from their heart and say what they are going to do for this city. And I love it when you speak from your heart. Jacksonville NAACP is here for you. If you need us, just call us and we'll be there for you. We're always out here fighting for, I call them the little man or the person who don't have a voice, okay? Because your vote is your voice. Your vote is your voice. Remember that. Your vote is your voice is your vote. Go from bottom up. When you go to the polls, don't go from top up because your bottom part is the most important thing. Go from bottom up, not top up. God bless you. Thank you again, everyone, for joining. Thank you for everyone for joining us. And thank you again, my moderators. Thank you to Nicole Ford for getting this all organized. I really appreciate you, Nicole Ford. Thank you for all that hard work and the rest of you. All of you have a great day. Thank y'all. Y'all take care.